we recording?
And we are recording right now, so that
Topic.
Just this shit's all gotta go in.
Topic.
All right, guys. Welcome to the Tom Castro Shooting Academy Next Level Podcast. Let's get it rolling.
Welcome to the Tom Castro Shooting Academy podcast. You have now entered the next level.
Jesus Christ, how long is this intro?
All right, guys. So this one's going to be probably the worst podcast that I'll ever put into my life.
You're going to have to change it to the bottom level podcast.
Yeah, the bottom level podcast has begun. So let me go ahead and introduce everybody while I'm here. So I got my really good friends with me. I have a couple of guys that I shoot with every single week. 2 times a week, I think. So we're always talking.
Typically.
We're in a group together. So we started running a match together. So let me go ahead and introduce everybody. Actually, I'll just go over here. This is A class. Wait. Are you A class trash yet or B class
I
trash?
don't know. I gotta do the numbers.
Which means so introduce yourself. Here we go.
My name's Matt Kobe. Been shooting USPSA for about 3 years now, and I continue to be terrible, but I enjoy the hell out of it. So here I am.
All right, go ahead, John.
Hey, I'm John Newhoff, shooting carry optics these days. I've been shooting off and on for almost 3 years. Been shooting with Tom most of the time. Sam started, Matt, but yep, that's me.
Sam?
I'm Sam Caldwell. I like no shoots, at least 2 per stage, sloppy grips, and long walks on the beach.
All at the same time.
It depends on if Matt built the stage.
All right, guys. So we're coming together today so we want to talk about a couple of things that, for whatever reason, I don't know if you can see it, but hold up our list of how productive we were at trying to figure out topics.
It's empty.
I think there's only one
One.
thing on there. What is the topic that we have?
Matt has to say hi-oh
Has to
every
say
5
what?
minutes.
Throughout the entire podcast.
But that's all he's allowed to
That's
say.
all he's allowed to say. And maybe drink a few beers.
Next podcast, he will just be a sound button.
Oh, I am recording this, so I do have this as a soundbite. For maybe every time Matt cusses, I'll just put that over the top of it. As he sits there professionally. All right, guys. So I know the first thing we wanted to talk about, and this is kind of why we came together today, is we shot a match this weekend, and I wanted to kind of get into not so much the match, but we actually run the match. So we started a third Sunday here in Florida. We have basically there's a match throughout the entire state. There's a first Sunday, second Sunday, third Sunday, and fourth Sunday. So we took a third Sunday because that's what we had open at our local range that we work at, and we do a bunch of stuff for, and that's where we train, which is Guncraft in Ruskin, Florida. So we started a club together so we could start running matches, and I felt like it was something that a lot of people, especially local shooters or just shooters in general, don't realize what you have to go through to build a match. So I figured I'd give everybody an insight on how good and bad it is to run a match. So why did we start this? I'm trying to think
Because we're stupid.
Well, so
Because we're stupid, and there's no other explanation for it.
we didn't want to drive 2 hours to go shoot a third Sunday. There was in Florida, it's divided up into sections. In Central Florida, there was no third Sunday, and we were driving 2 hours to go shoot a match, and it was okay, mediocre match, but we thought we could do a little bit better, so we started shooting or running a match.
So I know why I started or started helping out was I
got nowhere else to go.
Well, yeah. So I switched over from another range and started shooting at Guncraft. And Matt asked me if I would help build stages on Wednesdays. So he started because Matt was running a local match on Wednesday afternoons or evenings after work. He'd come and build stages and do the old standard, hope to God somebody shows up and starts helping out kind of thing. And it got to the point where I was coming for the local matches anyway, training for nationals and getting ready for the big matches. So he asked me if I would help build. I said, yeah, man, let's do it. Let's start building it. And I mean, I didn't want anything to do with running the match. I didn't care about, I still really don't care about running a match. I don't even know if anybody knows I run a match with Matt and John. I just don't care to be the boss. So I'm a boss in my other jobs. So I really don't care. But in this situation, I saw an opportunity to start getting better stages. And that's really why I started volunteering, because I was just tired of running stages that I was like, I didn't learn anything on that stage. I mean, my type of stage is on getting better, is I'm working on entry, exits, moving and shooting. We don't do a lot of crazy stuff where we got like falling. We don't bring cars onto the stage for our local matches or, any of that kind of stuff. We try to make really good stages, level 2 stages on a level 1 match, basically, is what we try to do. So what did you do? I mean, Matt, what was the big thing for you? Like, I mean, cause you kind of jumped in right away on that Wednesday night match.
It just kind of morphed in from, we started a Wednesday night kind of local thing just because there was really nothing else to do for us. It started out as kind of a fun thing. It was very rough around the edges, and I just kind of got, I guess, essentially bit by the bug of kind of MDing a little bit and wanting to build better stages. And, we got a lot of good feedback from it, and it just kind of morphed from there, where we were starting to get really good turnout. And we just progressed, and we wanted to, I think that just the next logical step was to, form a USPSA club and be able to run an official match from that point forward, have the rules set and everything else.
So when you started on the level 2, when you started with the Wednesday night match was actually started out as an outlaw match, right?
It was, and we just used to do some crazy, obscene shit, and it was just started out in good fun, and then it kind of, the more, I guess it was maybe on my end, the more that we went down the road, I decided that I wanted to get away from the craziness and take it a little bit more seriously, and it led into all this.
So the biggest thing for the level, I would say the biggest thing that I noticed since I started helping was, well, actually, it's not since I started helping, but even beforehand, and I don't really pay attention to a lot of the BS rumors that people come up with and all the crap people like to start in this sport. But for me, I noticed that when I first started helping, that people would come up to me and go, "Oh, you guys aren't running an outlaw match anymore?" And it was almost like there was a stink on our matches because everybody thought we were still an outlaw match. And I'll tell you, I shot a lot of your, quote unquote outlaw matches, and you guys always followed USPSA rules.
Well, that's what I was going to say. Is we always had reasonably decent stages. There was a little bit of wonkiness occasionally. But for the most part, we've been putting up good stages.
I would think the biggest thing that I noticed on what they would consider an outlaw match was you would let people, and this had a lot to do with the range, was that we would allow people to shoot non-USPSA, I don't want to say, well, I guess I would say legal guns, because
calibers,
like 22s. I mean,
platforms.
Obviously, you would have, but I mean, people weren't just coming out there with suppressors or anything. But we had some when it first started. People were allowed to come out with ARs and not shoot steel, and so that was kind of where it got a little crazy when people were allowed to shoot ARs and you didn't allow them to shoot the steel and just shoot at it, like shoot above it. Well, that was. Obviously, if you're shooting at it, doesn't mean you're going to hit it. Hell, we do that now, and we're shooting at it, right? So with 9mm, so it's kind of one of those things where and again, when you run a match, if you ever take the attitude of I don't care, it's just an outlaw match. You've already lost the competitive nature of the sport, I guess. It's kind of, I mean, at that point, you might as well just go out with buddies and just shoot at stuff and not even score.
And that is kind of how it started. Before I got involved, there wasn't a whole lot of people going, and it was really just a core group of friends. Then as people started going, I think that's kind of when we realized it had to be legit. If we're getting 40, 45 people here on a Wednesday night, we can't keep doing outlaw. And like you said, per the rules, it wasn't really outlaw. It was really just the guns and the calibers that we're letting in. But once you put that outlaw name on there, then people treat it differently than a...
Well, the thing that kind of, when we started doing this, is we had people, being that it's essentially run by a gun range, because Guncraft is first and foremost a public range with memberships and a gun shop. So that would naturally draw in the newer people that, they buy this gun, they're not aware of the rule set. We would allow them in, shooting their 22, shooting whatever gear they had. as a way of drawing them into the sport and then progressing from there. So it was kind of a natural transition.
So that's another thing that gets lost, I think, in a lot of these matches that, you know, with the stigmatism towards an outlaw match, it's looked at as in there's no rules, but that's not the case. The case is in this situation especially was it's all legitimate. We all want it to be a legal match, but we wanted to allow new shooters. And actually there's quite a few people that we have right now that because they started with 22 went out and spent hundreds of dollars on gear and are now part of the USPSA community because we didn't run them off immediately and say, hey,
Correct.
you can't shoot. But again, then it's kind of tough because it's one of those things where like, all right, yeah, cool, man. It's a level 1, just shoot the 22. But then you're like, well, do we score them? Do we not score them? You know, you still have to follow the safety rules no matter what, but you get that, I don't know. It's kind of a tough road because the outlaw match brought shooters in, but I think so would USPSA, right? Like regular USPSA.
Yeah.
But then if the gear isn't proper, if you have those RO Nazis that are like, oh, their holster isn't in the perfect spot, they go into open. Well, that's not fun for
Right.
anybody,
Yeah.
right? I mean,
But I guess realistically though, if you're a new person and this is the first match you shot, you could shoot an open and you're still going to finish in the same
yeah,
spot.
and you don't care about winning.
Last is last, you know.
Yeah.
Typically.
Yeah. I think that's definitely one of the big benefits of, you know, how the club started was that we started off, you know, we always think about the range first. Matt had mentioned it earlier, like Guncraft has been more than fair and loving to us. We get to come there and we actually, like, this weekend's a great example. We built the match on Saturday under the guides that we might have a tropical storm hit us on Sunday, but we were able to go to the range on Saturday. We have keys. We have all the stuff that we have, all the access that we need to set up really. I mean, we probably spent 2 to 3 hours building stages yesterday,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, I think it was 3.
It was
We're that
3
level
and a
of
half.
stupid. We build stages the night before.
But see, I don't see it as stupid because to me, I'm willing to take those 3 hours the night before so that when I come in on Sunday,
Yeah.
all I have to do is put bullets in my gun and shoot.
But-
I'm not building stages
Well,
the day I shoot.
Most people, you know, when you have the potential for the weather we do in South Florida, something like that happens, it's an automatic match cancellation. Well, you know, the 4 or 5 of us total were such lunatics that we want to shoot all the time that we're willing to go out there and build during a potential tropical
And
storm.
not even that, but just we take time out of our day on Saturday to go up there.
Yeah,
and
like
build,
we invest so
you know.
much time
And
in
me
this
personally,
nonsense, it's
I'd
crazy.
rather give up 3 hours on a Saturday night than wake up at 5 o'clock in the morning to go build a stage.
But it like the group of shooters we got are just amazing, right? We're all really good friends. You know, it's just like a family almost. You know, you got that crazy uncle that pisses you off, and
Matthew.
that's just how it is.
Well, and
Matt
that's the
Bowie.
bigger part of doing this is just the camaraderie and just the
Right.
general,
No, absolutely.
the general
And that's-
bullshit of hanging out with your buddies, shooting.
Exactly. Because if I didn't like you guys, I wouldn't go
Yeah,
up
like,
there on
dude,
Saturday night and build.
We're
'Cause-
investing so many hours of our lives doing this
Right.
nonsense and setting this up for what? For nothing.
The 60 seconds of shooting at a local match.
yeah,
Well, some of us
Some of us,
got a little bit more than 60 seconds, but
a minute 2 minutes and 7 seconds. Thank you.
you shot
Hold on.
127.
What was I at today? Let me see. Let's see. Let's all see where we were at
Here we go.
today.
Here comes the
I
grand
was
bag.
okay.
Here comes the grand bag.
I was over a minute. I was 79 seconds, so I feel terrible today. so.
It was match stage
Shit.
where you had to
I
run
was
40
just under
miles.
2 minutes. I got my money's worth though. You know?
Yeah, see, that's the thing is, I feel like I get ripped
$10
off. I
a
spend
minute.
all this time building and pacing, and I don't. I
We
get
should
just
change our
over a
name
minute.
to the. We should change our name to the 900 hotline.
$10 a minute.
Oh my god!
But I think that is because we all get along and we all want to dedicate time to put on a good match. I think that's why the stages end up being so good. Even Matt Kobe's
my gosh.
stages are pretty decent.
Well,
Even though John's pissy the whole time during the whole match and yelling at everybody and hurting
I was
my
hangry
feelings.
today. I got some food. I'm good now. It's,
and what's crazy about it is like none of us have been shooting USPSA for 10 plus years.
no, yeah.
But the great thing is that we are well traveled in USPSA between the 4 of us.
Well,
Like,
yeah,
and
and
that-
I think it's
and we-
you know
and we get
we're not seasonal. We shoot year round.
no, not
on
that.
top of
Like
that,
we get
though,
to travel around. And,
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
And
I've
yeah,
shot at
yeah,
probably 10 plus clubs.
Yeah,
You know, in the realistically, I've been shooting 18 months in the last 3 years.
Right.
10 clubs, maybe more.
But that's what I'm getting at is
Yeah.
like we all get to pull stage designs, things that we've seen previously, and not just have a. All right, this
stage
whole
5 is stage 5.
this
every
whole
week.
this whole match is geared for open shooters. Or,
Right. Yes.
and we have 60% PCC shooters or whatever. That's what we're gonna build to.
So I mean, our range is very. It's not a huge range. We have some giant bays, but we also have we have a variation of bays. So we have some actually like bay 1 that Matt ruins every single weekend.
25 yards deep, 50 yards wide.
20, yeah, 50, it's huge, right? So it's
We
a
have,
big
like,
bay. So Matt always comes up with
75%
really good stages,
walls.
but he eats up the whole bay. So like you're going to work when you get to that stage. Bay 2 is usually the one I get because Matt's selfish, and it's usually really skinny. So the problem with bay 2 that I build on is it's super skinny. So what happens is you get stuck with this kind of left, right, left, right, left, right. So I try like this weekend, I changed it up and made it so there wasn't a bunch of left and right stuff. And it was a completely different stage. Stage 3 and 4, we joined those together because we only have 5 bays.
Well, that's another one. It's 20 yards deep
Yeah.
and 50 yards wide.
Yeah. So, and that's actually that's the worst bay, or it's the most difficult bay because you technically are putting 2 stages on it, but that's also the public line. So one thing we didn't talk about is on Wednesdays, our range has limitations on how late we can shoot because the range has been there 40 years, 40 years, 40 plus
42 years. Yep.
Okay, 42 years, and everybody's built houses around it. So it's like holding on, trying to stay alive and not let anybody shut you down because that's just the way people are. So the owners of the range have made sure that they think about the neighbors and have made sure that we stop by 8 o'clock every night. So we've been having to start our matches by 5:30. Well, now because we're running these matches together and we have a good system and we're really organized, we have it to where now we can start a little bit later so people can start making it more and getting to the range. And now we'll be able to, but it's a hard 8 o'clock. You got to finish by 8 o'clock. So that's one of the things that we're going through running a match. Like the end of the day, and this is one of the things I wanted to bring up in this podcast, was the range is all that matters.
Right.
It doesn't matter. We have as USPSA shooters feel special. I mean, everybody walks around with a gun.
What do you mean we're not special?
We are not special.
In certain ways.
In certain ways.
I was told that if I was a D-class shooter, I'm better than 75% of the public.
And that's true, and that's very true.
That's special.
But you're still not special, right? Like at the end of the day, if the range isn't available to you, you don't have a club anymore. Yeah. So
100%.
when you're running a match and you turn around and you see a bunch of trash on the ground and you see all these things, you see people not putting things away, all this stuff. Well, it falls on the match directors to go clean up because we are obviously the reason we're having a match, right?
Yeah.
If we don't volunteer to build stages, and okay, so I'll call him out right now. We have a gentleman that comes and helps us every single weekend, Jim Killeran, and I don't know if he'll hear this.
Love Jimmy.
But he is one of the hardest working guys in this sport. I think every single match he goes to, he builds a stage, never bitches, never complains. And he's such a great guy, but he loves ports. So I'm going to call him out right now to stop you. No, I'm just kidding. It's one of our ongoing jokes. He likes to use ports.
Yeah.
But again,
it's because he was in the Navy, and that's all he knew.
Just looking through a hole.
It's called a port. It's called a port.
I know, but opening the window to look out,
Yeah, the sun's shining today.
Was he a submariner or what? So, but guys like that are what keep the sport going, because at the end of the day, 99% of your people that shoot aren't going to build stages, don't have any interest in, and that's okay. But at the end of the day, you have to realize that at least just picking up the trash, putting everything away where it belongs before the end of the match is part of keeping the range happy. It doesn't
Especially
even
at the range we use, because they're really keen on keeping their gun range aesthetically pleasing, right? There's no trash, there's no old tires. It's a very nice looking range, and they want to keep it that way.
So on the back end, I actually intern at the gun range.
You what?
I'm the intern.
Oh,
What are
yeah.
you? What,
Oh,
you're
okay.
what?
I'm the hi-yo intern. I just censored myself for you guys. So on Mondays they have like
your phone, sir?
private shooters and like some really high-end USPSA shooters that come there and train out of there, and they teach and everything.
You're not going to drop his name.
We're not going to drop JJ's name.
Yeah, JJ. Who's JJ?
Just some dude.
Some
JJ
dude.
Rakaza?
Rikaza?
His name is actually Simon.
Oh, Simon.
Simon comes to the range and
But
shoots
I
there.
mean, but not only that, we have about 6 or 7 3-letter agencies that have headquarters, or satellite offices in Tampa that come to our range exclusively.
Like UPS?
Yes.
ABC.
Yeah.
In case Sam didn't mention it, he interns there.
Yes.
And he loads,
you're absolutely right.
So
though.
like,
and he loads
any-
JJ Rakaza's magazines as an intern.
that was just between us, Tom. I thought we were friends.
I'm very jealous because we're friends and you don't even load my magazines.
But no, it's more than just like we got to stay professional at the range all the time. So
well, like Tom
professional
said,
appearance.
USPSA, we're not special, right? Like
No,
we are
no.
just one user
Correct.
of the range.
Yeah,
you
but I
know.
mean, even down to the members that shoot there, in our range introduction brief, you're like, hey, you're a part of the family. So part of the family means cleaning up after yourself. Not saying that ROs are lazy, but we do have this certain type of members, and we just don't want accidents to happen. So.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's important that everybody realizes that at the end of the day, the range is number one. So that's like the biggest point. One of the reasons I did this too is because I want to thank Guncraft for even giving us the opportunity to have the match, because they have actually financially taken care of everything for us.
Yep.
I mean,
Well-
we came in and we were like, look, this is what we want to do. What can we do? And we sat down and had to make a budget and figure out all those different things. And then this is something that I don't think a lot of people realize, that starting a club isn't that difficult, but you have to have volunteers that are willing to take positions, right? So Matt Kobe has taken
Future
over
pres.
as the range master.
Future pres.
I'm running for president, USPSA.
Are you announcing that right
Yes,
now?
I am announcing.
Oh my God, it's official. 2030. He's got to clean up his hits though.
Sorry, Matt's not going to be a range master. He's going to be the president.
I'll be dead by then.
No, he's going to be he signed up as the match director. I signed on as a match director. John signed up as, what do we put you as?
He's our pseudo MD PR guy.
Yeah, so he
the
does our
executive
Facebook
assistant.
page.
I'm the executive assistant to the executive
To the
assistant.
traveling secretary.
And then we have another gentleman who actually runs or owns the range and manages Guncraft in Tim Jones, and he's kind of our financial guy. He's kind of the treasurer of the club. He deals with all the financial stuff. And so it's like the way we have it set up, there's always someone to back up someone else, because we all have other lives outside of shooting. So like this weekend, I'll be leaving to go run a class in Texas, and Matt's going to be basically in charge of the thing by himself. So we're kind of really worried. I think
This Wednesday?
well, Wednesday and Sunday, we're really worried.
Currently getting yelled at by my wife because I'm doing this podcast.
Flip your phone upside
she's
down so you
pissed
can't
off.
see it.
Yeah,
I'll be here on Sunday to keep an eye on Matt. But yeah, Wednesday, Sam, we need you to step in and
Yeah.
Yeah, because I leave Thursday. I leave Thursday because I'm going to drive, because I love masks. So I decided to drive instead. So it's one of those things where, you just have to openly communicate with each other and make sure that everybody understands, like, hey, if you quit or don't show up, that the other guys that you're friends with are getting screwed over. So it's a big thing. And I'll tell you, one of the things that, because I work so much in this club, that I don't want to build for anybody else. Do you
No.
guys feel the same way?
Yes.
Kind of, yeah, but the perspective I get now is like,
It's not that
any
you
help. It's such a volunteer thing, and we all know that. But you know what? If you can go out and help your local club on a Sunday morning, a Saturday morning, and help set something up, like that help is so unbelievably appreciated.
Even
get
if
your
it's
ass out of bed a half an hour early, go help them set up because those guys are working their ass off. And again, it's like a big shout out to Jim Killeran if you happen to hear this. Like, we appreciate your work more than you can possibly imagine. You
And
know?
good stages. Like, that's a big thing to me.
yeah, his stage today was really good.
Yeah.
I can easily throw together a 2-second stage and be like, cool, man, I got targets out there. We talked about it. We were actually talking trash to each other the other day in Texas.
35-yard popper.
I was talking about, I was like, screw it, man. If it's going to rain, I'll just show up in the morning and I'll put a 35 or 45-yard target out there and we'll just shoot one single popper. And you know what's sad? That's actually a stage.
Yeah.
It is.
I mean,
legally,
it's a stage. And that's the thing. Is sometimes you go to these matches.
That's
and I'm
Matt's
definitely
26
not
cent
one of those
factor.
guys that complains about stages if I'm not helping. I don't do that. If somebody doesn't build a good stage, and if you're that guy that complains about shitty stages, then you should volunteer to do
Yeah,
better.
Absolutely.
Do something.
Yep.
You should volunteer to do better.
Even if you're coming out to drive stakes. I mean,
exactly.
Jesus.
I mean, when I
that's
first
better.
started, I didn't know anything about USPSA other than the YouTube videos I watched, recommended going to help, and then the experienced guys at the range I was going to said, "Yeah, come out and help." I didn't know shit about shit or hey yo about hey yo. But I just go out there like, hey, what do you need? Oh, you need 7 fault lines? Sure, let me go grab those for you.
Yeah, like you don't have to be an expert because clearly, if you listen to these three, I can't build to save my life.
No, you
But-
build decent stage. They're
Start
like
stage.
70%
just,
good.
Like show up and hammer
Every
some
wall
ball
we have.
lines down. Have just do something. That help is like I said. I mean, it goes so far in just doing little things that holding targets for a guy stapling.
Oh, yeah.
Well, on top of that, you get
Get
to know
involved.
to
That's
know
it.
the people at the
Yeah,
clubs.
exactly.
That is one thing about the sport, though. It's not just shooting.
No, it's
right?
not,
Because you got to have
shooting's the smallest part. Of it.
you got to
It's
have
everything else.
That's
around.
hey, that's what Tom says. But you got to have a range that you go to, right? And once you start going to that range, you're gonna get to know people, and that's the greatest part about the
Well,
sport.
and that's what
You
I
make friends. I mean,
I've
they
said-
might not be good friends, Matt, but
Yeah,
you make
like, I've said
friends.
this from day one. Like I've been doing this nonsense for like 3 years, and I have invested like
Nonsense.
in insane
It's only
amount
nonsense
of
'cause
money
he's
in
not
this,
good.
and it's
3
just
Canics later.
crazy. But like, I think the bigger part for me is that the friendships. Like, if I wasn't hanging out with my buddies or meeting all these people, I wouldn't be doing this nonsense.
Matt, can I give you a
So-
hug right now?
Huh?
Can I give you a hug right now?
I'm
That
gonna
was
shed a tear.
that was touching.
I'm gonna shed a tear. But I mean, it's all bullshit aside. That's really what it is. It's the personal connections, and it's like that with anything. Any hobby you get involved in, you're gonna make friends. people,
Absolutely, yeah.
And that's more the driving force is that I'm going out with my buddies on a Sunday afternoon, and yes, I'm kind of taking time away from my personal life that build this nonsense, do whatever else. And but it's hanging out with them. There's no better feeling than when somebody comes up to you at the end of a match and says, "Hey, you know what? You guys did great stages today.
Yep.
Really loved them." And you're going to hear some negatives too, and you try not to let that drive you down. But when the response is overwhelmingly positive, it encourages you to do more, get more involved.
Especially since we're relatively new. Today was our third match?
yeah, third match.
This was our third, I believe, our
Third
third
level
official
1
match.
Sunday match. We ran a bunch of Wednesdays, but our
So as like I for everyone, I just help really just run all the back end stuff and
He's an
interns.
intern.
and I'm an intern and I help do the admin stuff for this club.
Sam's been a huge help. As much
But,
as we shit on him, he is.
But I got a question for you guys, the stage builders, right? What's the worst thing somebody could say to you as a stage builder? And
I'll tell you the worst thing they can do is stand on the stage and walk stages while I'm hammering nails.
no, yeah, I got that, right?
While I'm
Sounds
making
my
the
number.
stage,
That's
So,
you better
yeah.
not be walking
Yeah,
on my
so
stage.
we can call that the worst, but what's the best? When you see somebody that is an average shooter crush your own stage that you built.
No, I don't want that. I want
No?
everybody to be unsuccessful on my stage right into. No, I'm just
Completely
Yeah,
miserable.
Yeah, I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
No, honestly, what I care about, honestly, is as a match director, especially, is that the match flows.
Right.
There's no holdups.
Right.
There's no reshoots. And it's not just time. I want people to come over and go, wow, these stages were hard. Not to the point where it was like, hey man, I made you stand on one leg, but that you didn't have a cookie cutter run to a spot, shoot. Yeah, it made you. So like this weekend, I made a stage that all the guys were like, how the hell did you make this in this little ass bay? And I was like, all I knew when I walked on the stage was I was not going to do the run down the middle and shoot left, shoot right, shoot left, shoot right.
Right.
I want to start making national level stages, even if the stage is skinny. It doesn't matter. You can still make hard things. It just, you have to think outside the box and you have to stop trying to just get done. So that's one of the things is that I think us as a group really prides ourselves in, is that we'll take the extra time to put that stage together that's going to like completely change the way you think about our range. Because right now, my thing is and I said it, I posted a video the other day and I said, if you come to our matches, you are going to get level 2 stages at a level 1 match. Because that to me is a big thing. I am getting ready for nationals. This is the year for me to chase that national championship as a Grandmaster. All these guys that are at this table, other than Sam, because he's getting out of the military on that day, are all going to nationals. So we are, not only are we running a match locally, but now we're also training to go to the biggest match of the year for thousands of dollars. So why not take that opportunity to use those local matches that we run and put those into national level? Actually, let me rephrase that. I want to make them harder than I'll see at nationals. So when I get to nationals, it's like, our matches are way better than this, right?
And that's it, because I'm still relatively new at stage building. I know you've got a lot of experience at the last club that you shot at a lot. But that's the first couple of stages, not Sundays, but Wednesdays, I'd throw something up. I'd think it was good. Yeah. And then I'd shoot it. I'm like, man, that was really easy. Yeah. Like there was nothing challenging. That's, what you'd call a hoser stage. Yeah. But in my head, I was like, oh, this is going to be hard. This is going to be, but it's not. So it's finding that balance between having something challenging, but it's also still fun, right? It's not so hard that you walk off that stage like, man, that was a hey-o. But that's kind of my goal is to make it fun and challenging, but not so challenging that the new people get frustrated and want to give up.
So for both of you, well, Matt, you could you're probably not going to have a good answer for this, but have you noticed a difference in your shooting since you started building stages? Like now when you walk stages or as you build, you're starting to like really like, oh man, okay, I want to do this because I need to practice this. Or do you build any stages because of things you want to work on?
Absolutely. That's why we had 25-yard shots today.
Yeah. So I've built, I want to say 1.5 stages in my career, and I get blamed for being too ruthless because I just want to see what people can do. There's a hard lane, and then there's a really hard lane.
Right. Yeah. And that's kind of something too. Like there's ranges around here too that I've shot at that always have very tight shots, very technical stages, and I think that's something that we need to start adding in because your stage was pretty technical today. You had to hit certain spots.
Far steel, small steel.
Yeah. But in general, I think we need to start adding, and it doesn't have to be every position, right? You have some hoser positions, but there are a couple of positions that are really technical where you have to be in the exact spot, and it's a hard target.
Yeah, we kind of tend to do open flowy type.
But so I'll disagree with that. And the reason I say that is think about Wednesday and think about Sunday. I have a totally different style of building stages than you guys do.
Oh, absolutely.
So it works really nice because we kind of...
That's what makes it great.
Your stage today was very technical. I mean, it was just the fact that you were moving while you were you were running backwards, and if you didn't hit the right spots, you could hit no shoots. You put some long distance targets in there. Matt's stage had a lot of things that you could screw up on if you missed the spot.
Right.
But again, we have 3 completely different builders. That is what makes such a big difference, I think, at our matches and then we all walk over. And myself and John will walk over each other's stages and go, hey, man, what do you think about this? Or, oh, I like this or like that. Matt, he doesn't listen to us at all. He puts stupid shit out there.
We have to wait till Sunday morning.
Yeah, we have to wait till Sunday morning to change his stage. And then at lunch, he tells us that he came up with the idea. Even though me, Sam, and John sat down to dinner at the night before and we're like, we got to talk to Matt. His stage is not good.
Always shit on the king. That's fine.
Shit on the king.
Hey-oh!
They're just jealous my bay's bigger.
No.
So I still don't understand how that happened because like the best
Well,
bay,
for one,
the
it's
worst guy
closest.
gets it.
It's
your,
closest to the supply.
Yeah,
That's what
it's
it is.
true.
So
He's
he
the
has to
laziest.
walk-
He's the laziest.
And the oldest accountant that you guys had on the board, I guess you would say, for the club, you know,
Yeah.
that thing. And so Matt was like, opportunity.
I
No longer I'll be known as Hoser Stage 2
I
Matt.
look at it as special needs. I need the most accommodations to build.
He needs special
whatever is
things
in
all the
my-
time.
My limited
But
repertoire.
we're just giving you shit, Matt. Your stages typically are pretty
Yeah,
good.
do-
I know.
They're pretty
You're
I
a
know.
great stage builder. You might suck at shooting, but you're a great stage builder.
You got to be good at something. Apparently.
All right, so for anybody
There we
who
go.
doesn't know, Matt is very hard on himself when he shoots. It doesn't matter if he actually runs a good stage. If it's not perfect, he's ready to quit. Like, and he's laughing because it's very true.
I've been ready to quit since I started this bullshit. That's like our buddy Michael Garrow. He's like, why do you do this if you hate this so much? I'm like, dude, I just can't stop. I don't know how to quit.
It's because you're
Well, he
self-masochist.
quit last Sunday.
Yeah, he quit
he
last
did.
Sunday.
Yeah,
and the Wednesday
sure.
before,
He
before that,
did.
the Wednesday
Yeah,
before
his
that.
gun jams. He's like,
I have been
hey,
known.
I'm out of here.
I have been known to rage quit quite a few times.
So all right, so I want to bring that up because, and I want to go around the table because I'm really interested in what is your motivation at this
Diving
point?
deep into it.
Yeah, what is your motivation at this point since it's so frustrating to you in so many ways? Why do you keep coming back? Like, what is obviously us is important. Like we hang out,
and
right?
that's honestly the biggest part. It's just hanging out with your buddies. You know, this
Say it.
is a lot like any
Friends.
other hobby. Whether you're
I
playing
can't quit you.
golf, it just becomes such a driving force that, like, it's maddening. Like you hate it so much that you love it. That's kind of the perspective.
I think that's called type 3 fun.
Well, there's definitely a love-hate relationship going on, but I mean, my God, I just love shooting this game.
Is your competitive nature
It is.
stronger than your want to quit?
yeah.
Depend-
I mean, like
Depends.
nobody's getting into this that doesn't have an overwhelming competitive drive.
Correct.
Like no matter what level you're at, what division you're shooting, you know, it's just a drive, and I think everybody understands this. That is obviously listening to this. It's just a drive in it. You know, you want to put yourself against other people and see where you shake out, no matter how much you may hate it.
It's definitely a sport for type A personalities, but filled with a lot of B type personalities.
Oh yes, 100%.
Well, yeah, like, you know, I get it. I kind of approach this from the perspective, and I've kind of used this analogy before, is that I'm kind of like the weekend softball league beer drinking guy. I'm out having fun with my buddies. I don't train a whole lot. I do a little bit of work with Tom here and there.
You said doo-doo.
I'm not a practice guy. I'm not a dry fire guy. Like, I just like to go out and have fun with my buddies. And I think that's an overwhelming majority of this sport. I think the guys like Tom, you know, that get the GM in a year, that's very few.
Say that again?
6 months.
Fuck you.
I don't say that a whole lot, but that sounded good.
I
right
thought
there.
it was 6
That
months.
sounded so good.
And I had this
It was 6 months,
conversation with
though.
these guys. I
6
got
months
into
after he
this
started
because-
shooting a rifle in a pistol sport.
Yeah.
True, yeah.
I've always been into guns since I was a kid. My
He's
dad
only
got
been a
me into
GM in a real
shooting.
sport for a while.
You know, it was. I started out because it was cool and it was fun. And personally, for me, I feel like I'm gonna have a breakdown moment here.
Let's
Let
do
it
it.
out,
Let's do
Matt.
it, man.
This
Let's
is
break
like,
through.
This is
Get
like
the tissue.
Oprah level
Matthew.
shit here.
Matthew,
out.
this is a safe place.
It's a safe space. It got to the point where I wasn't actually enjoying myself anymore because I was putting so much pressure on myself.
John's getting him a Kleenex box right now.
Thank you.
For anybody who's not watching the YouTube video, he
I've
is
kinda
now
taken-
bawling.
I've kind of taken the perspective that, you know, I'm just going out with my buddies and I'm having a good time, just shooting shit and not getting all wrapped around the axle about, oh man, I screwed this up, I did this wrong. All things in perspective, you know, realize why you're in the game, why you're in the sport, and, you know, just go out and do what you're going to do. That's just
So,
from me.
so I coach Matt, and we're friends, really good friends, and we shoot together all the time. And I'll coach him when we're on stages, before stages, walking stages. He is the hardest person I've ever coached in my life.
Yes.
Because his vision of him as a shooter is terrible. He thinks he's the worst shooter ever. And I keep trying to explain to him, I see everyone else shooting and you're not the worst shooter, not even close to the worst shooter. So it's one of those things where I feel like just now, literally this weekend, something changed for him that he's not going to look at it in the same aspect of trying to be great all the time. And that's like, it's very frustrating because I see the talent. All of us see his talent, but he doesn't see his talent.
Well, he's performance motivated.
Well, and
he
again,
wants to know if
and
he's
that is
doing
the
good,
big thing.
right?
That is one of the things I talk about all the time is you cannot be focused on the results before you get them. Because what happens when you walk onto that stage thinking, hell yeah, I'm going to shoot this in 7 seconds with all alphas, and you shoot a Charlie or even a no shoot, the very next thing out of Matt's mouth is mother beep.
Hi-oh.
During the stage, automatically you're failing. You're going to do bad. Yeah. And the sad part is Matt's actually a positive guy outside of the shooting of the stage, right?
Yeah.
Like, and sometimes Matt will walk up and again, he knows this. I say this to his face, like other than right now.
Preaching to the choir.
That Matt will walk up and hand one of us the phone. He goes, here, video this dumpster fire before he's even shot it.
Yeah, but what's crazy is when Matt is mentally focused.
Yes, he's killing it.
There's not a lot of people at our local club that can beat him.
But again, the issue is he sets himself up, and I don't mean just him, people in general. This is an overall. I see this all the time. People do this all the time in this sport. You cannot go in with a negative attitude. And if something goes wrong, I'll give you a great example for myself today. I was reloading on our first stage today, and my mags were still damp from being inside my bag in the air conditioner throughout the night.
Oh, yeah, I remember.
When I went to reload, my mag was like a piece of butter, and it just went flying like 6 feet. So I had to grab another mag and reload, and then I shot the first target I came up to one-handed as I came in because that was what I had time for. Then I gripped and shot. But I could have immediately just said, oh, I'm done. Like, my stage is all screwed up. And I didn't. And that's the difference. And
didn't you get like
kind of like I did on stage 2?
You got like second on that stage too.
Yeah,
even with the one-handed.
So John,
shooting.
let's go into that. John had that happen to him today. He reloaded. What was it? Stage 2? My stage.
Yeah, stage 2.
So John reloaded early, which was fine. He didn't mean to. It was just one of those things. He was in the flow, and he's like, "Oh, reload." He reloaded early, shot where he was supposed to shoot, and then all of a sudden threw a reload in there where he wasn't supposed to, and the mag went flying, and instead of continuing to run back to get the mag on the ground, he was like, whatever.
You know what happened is I looked over at you, and you just stood there and looked at me like, what the hell are you doing?
Yeah, I'm like, why
And
are
I
you
was
reloading
like,
right now?
All right, fine. I'll finish the stage. I walked over, picked up my magazine, shot the last 4 targets.
And just so anybody who's not watching, his shoulders just dipped. His head ducked down. He just looked at the ground like, my magazine. My magazine is on the ground 5 feet away from me.
It was literally the USPSA equivalent of like a child having to eat broccoli.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Yes.
Yeah.
I was very upset.
So part of this is those are all learning lessons, right? So I talked to John afterwards because I coached John as well, and I was telling John, I was like, look, man, I used to do that. When things didn't go right, I would get really pissed off during the stage. I would just walk over, grab my magazine. I would just finish the stage, just, almost like a temper tantrum. And I told him, I said, this is a learning lesson right here. These are times when you're basically getting free practice for mistakes. When you make a mistake, how you manage that mistake in this sport could win or lose a major match.
Yep.
So instead of having that, I screwed up at a practice, treat it like it's a real match, run over, grab that magazine, slap it in there, and finish the stage and be like, all right, cool.
I mean,
I can go and look at practice score and see the 5 seconds lost, where would I've actually been, right? You could have easily done that. Instead, now it's 15, 20. I mean, you shot that stage in 45 seconds or something. And everybody else was in the 20s or 30s at the most.
Yeah.
So again,
it was high
it's
20s too.
It's how you have to use those moments when you make those mistakes to fix them and work on them.
Speaking on that mistakes topic, I mean, definitely.
It was a long time.
Tom
Dude,
definitely
that
learned it.
added 10.5 seconds to my stage.
10.5 seconds.
So judging by what Tom just said, he definitely have overcame the issue. If you've seen his one stage
Production?
at low cap nationals this year,
Yeah, I saw it. Yeah.
There's no quit, dude. There's no quit.
but
No,
it was funny because he ran the entire stage twice
No, I know. I
and
saw it.
still beat people.
Yeah. Yeah. And honestly, for me, in the moment, I gave up, right? I just gave up. And even the way I finished the stage, I gave up. But I think I was more mad at myself after that for giving up,
Right,
than I
yeah.
was that I bobbled a reload and threw the magazine where
And here's the big thing about that, and this, this is a great thing when it happens if you learn from it, because right now, making that mistake added, and you actually created a secondary mistake that you can never actually go back and get, right? Like you can't go back and go, oh man, I'm gonna go unquit. Right?
Yeah.
Like dropping the mag's going to happen again.
Oh,
It happened to me the very first stage. And I've been there before where I've done production stages when I first started and I would reload and I wasn't supposed to. And I'm like, what? Oh shit. I got to reload again somewhere else now.
It was because you're removing.
Yeah, but I mean, yes. And that's
Well, you also had more magazines in your belt. I didn't. I was out.
No, I didn't. I dropped all of my magazines in production now.
Oh, at production.
Oh, yeah. Oh, but here. So how many mags do you carry?
3.
Oh, that's a good topic.
So
That's a
the
good
third
one.
magazine, so you had
So-
3 magazines, and when you dropped it, that was the last one?
But he reloaded
that
twice.
Happened, no, that would have done the same thing on stage 1 for me as well. I
Yeah.
was on my last mag.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, because I started with the blue one, dropped the red one, and then picked up the silver one, my
Yeah.
Barney thing.
Yeah, I was filming that, and all you saw was like this magazine completely missed the gun, go into the wall and bounce off the wall
Did
into
it hit the
ground.
wall?
I was like, "What happened here?" But he didn't do anything. He realized he missed the gun and essentially threw it past the gun.
Yeah, when I knew the
And then-
magazine was falling, I just let it go, and I just grabbed the next one because I
Yeah.
knew there was no grabbing it, there was no recovering
But
it,
you
nothing.
know,
It was
this-
gone.
We've had this experience talk before, right? And you've done this obviously. You've missed reloads. You've thrown the reload past the gun
Yep.
probably more than once.
Oh yeah.
But what do? You just keep going.
You got to continue.
right?
You can't quit. That's the number one thing that about this sport is every single time you go to the range, it's a lesson. Even if it's something stupid, even if it's mental management, right? Like,
Oh, yeah.
I mean, and I'll go back to Matt because that was big this weekend. So Matt is a guy that we try to never let get to the edge of the bridge. Like he's never allowed to drive over the Skyway after a match.
I actually have.
Like, so if anybody doesn't know, Skyway is really tall. They actually put metal mesh netting around the top of
Yeah.
it because of guys like
Jump
Matt,
nets. They call
like
them
that
jump
USPSA
nets.
shooters that just want to jump off after a match. So, for a long time, we would have to talk to Matt, be like, dude, are you going to be positive today? Are you going to not tell yourself you suck before you even get on there? And today we didn't have to deal with it. Like
No,
it was
not
a
at all.
completely different.
Yeah.
Now, I mean, he did quit
So-
shooting pistol and shooting PCC, so he
Yeah.
took the easy way out.
Do
But
we want to go? Do we want to go down that road right now?
no, but
Really?
you know what? And I'm glad I want to bring this up because I think this was a big turning point for Matt in his shooting. John we shot a match and Matt was having a lot of problems with his pistols. So John said to him, he's like, dude, and I think me and John had talked about it right before he mentioned it. And it was just perfect timing on John's part. He was like, what do you do this for? He goes, well, I do this for fun because I want to have fun. He goes, so if you switch to PCC, will you have more fun? And Matt said, yes. He goes, then what are you waiting on? And
Yeah,
at
that's a
that
good
point, because at that point, we were constantly on his ass about, no, dude, the gun's not the problem. You're the problem.
Right.
Right.
And that's kind of the same thing. I stayed in production way longer than I should have because I wanted to prove a point that I could shoot well with iron sights, which I can't.
Well, but again, when you started with iron sights, dude, you just started this sport.
No, yeah.
So if you go back now, you're going to be a different
No, of
shooter.
course.
But if you
Right.
go,
Of course.
but if
But-
also if you go back a year ago, that was the standard, right? You start USPSA
In
you start
production.
production,
Yeah.
right? So
Yeah.
you do
But
all
then
that.
once I switched to carry optics, it was more fun.
yeah.
I mean, it's equally as challenging because everything is faster. but it's more fun. So, although,
There's no easy division.
No.
Anybody who tells me that if you pick up a PCC, you're going to be instantly better, that's bullshit.
No, I shot a PCC the other match, and I told you I was going to shoot a GM classification, and I shot a B class. So.
It's not easy as everybody thinks. What happens is you focus more on the shooting than the reloading and all of those things. So that's why you instantly get better, because your brain only focuses on basically pulling the trigger and hitting a spot. When you shoot pistol, you have to put a reload in. You have to think about your grip. You have to think about your arm placement, your foot placement. All these different things with a pistol have to come together for it to work. With a PCC, if you just pull the rifle in really tight and you hit your spots, you have plenty of opportunities to make up shots. But if you really look at the top shooters, they're not doing the same thing as the B class guy. That's what makes the difference. But it's a different type of skill set that you have to carry. I know I've shot both of them a lot, and it's not the same. There's so much similar stuff other than the way the gun handling happens, right? It's all the stage planning, the movement, all of it is exactly the same.
Exit.
It's just how you handle and maneuver that weapon, right? Or the firearm. And you don't have reloads. And that's a big thing in our sport. Like, there was a couple stages today that I was like, oh, if I didn't have to reload. Stage one.
Second
and a half. Stage one was a second and a half. Well, I would like to know where I was at if I didn't fumble the reload. I have to see what that is. Yeah. But honestly, at the end of the day, the guys that didn't have a reload on that stage were guaranteed a second and a half of an advantage because they didn't have a reload. Now, again, we're not shooting against those guys, but that's not the point. The point is you don't have to reload, so it gives you an advantage on the combined scores. And if you're a competitor, you're probably looking at that.
So this is one thing. I mean, I've in the military 15 years. I know what it takes to shoot like an AR-15, but with a PCC, for pistol versus PCC is a 25-yard open paper more daunting with a pistol.
Yeah,
I would think so.
Yeah, I mean, because anything, my level, anything at 15 or plus yards, I'm really have to slow down.
So, what classification are you? Because everybody probably doesn't know. So, this is Sam talking, guys. For anybody who's on the podcast,
technically, I'm unclassed, but I should be about C class.
So, what were you in
this match?
What were you in carry optics, or I mean in
production?
Production,
low B.
Low B. John, what classification are you right now?
I'm C because I'm going to win C class nationals.
He's on C. He's C on purpose.
You heard it first.
I am B class, PCC, C class, everything else.
And what's your Instagram tag?
B class trash.
For life.
Could you repeat that and spell it?
B _ class _ trash. Hit me up with a follow.
Hey, don't play yourself.
You'll learn a lot.
You'll learn more what not to do.
Yeah.
Actually, you guys will understand then how patient of a coach I really am.
Yeah. So I'm also a member of the Insider Circle. So he has homework every month that you post up match videos and he tells you what to work on. It's a great program. So my first homework was production. And the answer was switch to carry optics. And
that hasn't worked out.
So I switched to carry optics, and my next month's homework was switch to revolver.
So
Just quit altogether.
So I will tell you. Hold on.
I guess he doesn't like me and wants me to quit.
So part of the reason why I told him to switch to revolver is because the son of a bitch would reload with a 24-round magazine because he thought he was in production still for the first 3 weeks. So I was like, you might as well just go to revolver, dude.
It took me a couple matches.
I have 3 mags, and with carry optics, and I had 6 with production.
He might have picked up a few on the ground when he got to carry optics. It's one of those where you blow the dirt out. And then reload it because you need those extra 20 rounds that you dropped on the ground.
Yeah. Well, when I was shooting production, especially like South Carolina State, we were at the Airbnb getting ready to go to South Carolina State, and like I thought I knew how to reload, and then Tom showed me something that made my reload so much better.
In the garage,
right? We were dry firing in the garage.
So here's a little tip, guys. If you guys use carts to carry with you, like your stuff. If you have a couple guys or even one, you can take that cart, put it in the garage when you're at your Airbnbs or hotels or whatever, and you can use those to catch the actual magazines from falling on the concrete. But here's the trick. If you aren't reloading and that magazine isn't falling in the cart as you exit or close to your feet, then you aren't reloading fast enough. You got to drop the magazine immediately before you exit that position. What I mean is you pull the trigger on the dry fire, it's bang. As soon as that gun that you have that perceived or that made recoil, you need to be pushing that button as you click that trigger. So as soon as the recoil is supposed to go off, it needs to be an immediate mag drop and then come in for the reload at the same time. So we had one of our guys, was it Brandon that was there?
Yeah, he was just there with us.
but actually I had him do it after you.
Correct.
And I shaved off a half a second.
Full half second.
Full half a second.
So
from
it was
just
like
dry
full
fire
half.
on technique.
Yeah, full half.
Did
Is
you
that
run their
different than
shit
just a
over
half?
when it was in the
Like,
garage?
we're
with
talking
their
timer.
carts?
What's that?
Oh, okay.
Did you run their
He
carts
did
over
he
while
did
you
not
were
run
there?
it over because I drove.
That just
I
happened.
asked if he ran their shit over with his truck and just completely bust
Did somebody's
everything
cart
up.
get run over?
Yeah, I don't remember
so
this. Did somebody's
legitimately-
cart get hit?
What happened, Matt?
There may have.
So
may or
wait,
may
hold
not
on.
have
Tell
been
the
an
tell the story,
incident.
Matt.
Yeah, let's hear the
You and I
story.
were talking,
I don't remember this.
and we're walking away from Tom's
So
truck,
Tom felt the need for whatever reason.
and I said, Matthew,
No.
your
Well, hold
cart's
on.
going to get
Hold
run
on.
over.
He
Let's
said
get
his
this
full
straight.
Bible
He
name.
continued to talk about something
For
else.
some
Crunch.
unknown reason, Tom decided to go out of his way, make a complete 180 with his truck,
And put Matt's cart
completely
in front of
run
his
my
bumper?
shit
He
over.
drove forward 2 feet.
Careless
2 feet.
disregard for a fellow competitor's piece of equipment. He decides because he's all pissed off, I must have beat him on a stage or something. that he was just
God, here we go.
completely run my
Here we
shit
go.
over.
Hey-oh.
You were if you were shooting your canics, you definitely didn't meet him on the stage.
Hey, that's probably why his canics don't run.
Yeah,
you
I
ran them over.
You ran him over. You changed the internal channel of the
I had to
striker.
polish the tire tracks off of my shit that he ran over.
All right. So let me clear it up. This is what really happened. So Matt, we were having a meeting at the end of our local Wednesday night match that we run about staff stuff, like what we were going to do for the next weekend or whatever it was. So Matt walks over and we had to put everything away. So I parked my truck because I always drive a trailer for everybody to put their stuff on.
It's so much better
I
that
dropped the
way.
trailer off, dumped everything off. Well, I had to go back and get my gear at the bay. So everybody came over and we started talking there. And Matt just rolls up in front of the truck and drops his cart off, which, is fine. No one would think anything about it, right? Because he just dropped it off there. But it's in the front right-hand corner of my truck.
Directly in front of the passenger
the
front
wheel.
tire.
And my truck's kind of high. It's not a big, huge, but I have raised wheels, so you cannot see anything in front of you that's 3 inches, right? Or even a foot, really.
Yeah.
It may have been touching the bump.
Maybe have touched the bumper, right?
Definitely
So-
compensating for something
he
with his truck.
leaves it there, and we're all talking. We have our meeting, no big deal. John and Kobe start walking away. So I put my truck in drive.
It's
and
Matthew.
Hold on. Wait, before the
Matthew.
crunch, here we go. John, what happened right before I hit the crunch?
I looked at Matt and I said, Matt, your cart's going to get run over. He completely ignores me like he doesn't hear me and
usual.
continues talking about the $7 he had in his hand.
Was it worth it? Was it
And then
worth it?
Tom pulls forward like he would. He's going to leave. Crunch. There, Matt's entire cart.
Not one crunch. 2 crunches, because I didn't know what the first crunch might have been, like a water bottle. Because who would think that some dumbass would put their cart with their gun
With
and
their
all
guns
their gear in
and
front of it?
ammo.
Ammo, right?
Yeah.
So I crunch it twice. Look, I didn't run over it like completely, but
Well,
it was done. Like, let's just say it was done, and I'll make sure
Pretty good.
I'll put the video in here so you guys can
Yes.
enjoy
Oh my
that video.
God.
'Cause it's awesome. So the best part of the whole thing
Car
is
down.
when I back up, of course, because I didn't want to keep running over it. I didn't know what it was. I would have never thought it was his cart because no one would leave their cart in front of somebody's truck. So I get out of my truck and I look at it. I'm like, oh shit, I ran over Matt Kobe's cart. So Matt comes over knowing he's the dumbass and looks at me and goes, and John's like damn near falling to the ground dying laughing. So Matt comes over and I'm like, are your guns in there? He goes, yeah, dude. He's got molded ears with a string on it, and one of them popped off 50 feet in the air, I guess, and landed on the grass. One has the string connected on the other one, but the other one doesn't. Well, I didn't run over any of his guns or anything, but the 40-year-old cart that he's been that doesn't even fold anymore is mangled to death so bad that the two wheels in the back are now one wheel. They don't roll, they just drag.
Can we talk about the handle on that prior to running over?
No, what was the handle?
It would not go 90 degrees.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
It would not go 90 degrees.
You couldn't close the cart. He needed a new cart anyway, so I think he was just trying to get me to
just
buy
did a
him a
favor.
new one and
so.
blame me for it.
It was an insurance
Did you buy him a
claim.
new one?
Absolutely not.
It was
I mean, dude,
It was an
he
insurance
committed
claim.
suicide on his own cart.
It was an insurance claim.
Yeah, it was an insurance claim, exactly. So Matt, now at this point, every time Matt comes near me, he's like, "Stayed away from my cart, bro." Like I said, I was searching his cart out. So this is like the USPSA rumor. I just run over everybody's carts. So
That's how you win,
So,
right?
yeah,
If you damage
so
their
I'll bring
gear.
this up.
Crack
so now
the-
when I'm
crack the
building
glass on the
stages,
carry optics,
when
you're
we
good to
build
go.
stages or we shoot, we have everybody brings the stuff to the trailer. From now on, I make sure I get out and do a 360-degree walk around to make sure I don't hit somebody else's cart.
I've been known to be a little absent-minded from time to time.
But the best
He's
part,
definitely reckless,
the
boys.
best part is in the video, I look at Matt, I go, and he's dragging it, and now I'm like, ooh, video opportunity. I got to show you what like real life is for us. Because like, I swear to God, if we don't have video of what we're like, people don't realize like how goofy we are because we all just like to shoot the shit and have a good time. So I grabbed the video camera, and you just see Matt in his lazy ass way dragging the thing, and he goes, I go, "What happened to your cart, dude?" And he goes, "Some asshole ran over it with his truck."
Fucking wheels all cockeyed and shit.
It's got the best part is it's got a TCSA sticker just mangled
No,
to death.
no.
It's got grass.
Yeah, the grass is
The grass
the best
sticking
part
out
about
of the top of the umbrella holder.
Yes,
PVC
that's
pipe,
the best
and
part.
It's just wrecked.
Look at him. Look how for the listeners that aren't watching YouTube, Matt is very distraught right
Yeah.
now. He's rubbing his forehead.
I'm just thinking about how I'm going to get my ass kicked when I get home.
He's got
My
PTSD.
wife is a very bitter, angry woman.
We are
I love her to death.
We're sending her the link to this
Yeah.
video right now.
Yeah.
I think I still have her number in my phone.
Oh.
It's gonna be 911 if you don't get
Yeah.
home soon. So.
Jumpaline or trampoline.
All right, guys. You guys got anything else you want to bring up?
Go out, support your local USPSA club. Build some shit, help out, hammer some nails, do something for the love of God. And the one thing I will kind of, Tom touched on it earlier, is Jesus God, please do not walk a stage when somebody's building it, because that will not drive anybody any possibly crazier than doing something like that.
It's just disrespectful.
You know who
right?
you are.
It's disrespectful. It's at the end of the day, if you're not the main guy building stages, don't get on there. Just help. Just
Right.
go help. You know what? You'd be
The
surprised how
best
easy
thing
it
you
is
can
to
do
just go
if you
grab
don't know
stuff.
what to do is just ask.
Yeah, just ask. Hey,
Yeah.
hey, what do
Hey,
you
what-
need?
what do you need to do?
I mean, that's one thing. We do have a couple new guys that have showed up that have been more than willing. They're like, "Hey, man, can I help you out? Can I, do whatever?"
And those
Just
guys,
get involved.
and I will tell you, those guys are always remembered.
Yeah.
Always. And what I mean by that is, if they need to be moved for a squad, they want to shoot with their buddies, or they want that
Absolutely.
stuff right there, I'm immediately like, that guy's in.
Yeah.
Like, we got you. Oh, the match is full. You're in.
Yeah.
Right. That was the one thing I learned when I started. My mentor, Mike Howell, always told me, he's like, dude, you show up early and you didn't get a chance to sign in, your ass is in this match because you come and help build. There's no match with no volunteers and no helpers. That's just the way it is in this sport. And there's no money at the end of the day.
No.
We literally make $0 to spend basically every week. We probably spend 8 to 10 hours at the range, and we're not even pulling the trigger.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true.
Right? Like today, everybody loaded the shit onto the carts. We had to reorganize the car. Again, it's nothing against those people. They didn't know. But at the end of the day, we're responsible
Yeah.
as the match directors
Right.
and the people in charge to go and clean that stuff
Yeah.
up so that the next match, we're not like, hey, dude, where'd all the stands go?
How come I don't have any target stands on my
right,
cart?
Right.
Right. It's the same thing. Guys, and the other thing I'll tell you is guys will, if you aren't responsible or check that stuff, you will lose thousands of dollars in targets and pasters.
God.
Pasters laying on the ground.
Jesus
Pick your
Christ.
shit up. Stop being a slob.
right,
Put
hey.
it in the bucket for God's sake.
Listen, I'm not.
No,
I'm
you're not wrong at all.
There's not wrong. It's not that difficult to take it. This range that we're at, especially, has 2 to 3 trash cans per bay.
Per bay, yeah.
But what happens is everybody goes down and picks up a piece of steel, and then they drop their pacers on the ground and say, "Oh, I'm not picking it back up."
Or they run out of pacers and
Right,
just
and
like,
throw it on
oh,
the
well,
ground.
I got to get some more.
And that's not our range.
No.
That's all ranges.
Oh, yeah.
Every range.
100%.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Right? Every range.
Yeah.
This isn't special for us. This people are lazy asses regardless, no matter where you go. So
But we thank you for your support.
yeah, but just remember that. But just remember that when you go to a match, how important it is and just remember how the match got there.
Yep.
I would say that's the biggest thing, right? It's very, very important to always remember that those ROs that you see at the matches, like we work the whole match.
Yep.
Like we are constantly ROing. We're constantly running the pad.
We actually, it's detrimental to us to run a match because we're out there running around. You know, we typically have like a 9:30 start. We're running around there at 9 o'clock, finishing things up, checking on everything. You know, it is not beneficial to us when we shoot in any way. So
No match director. Anybody
Yeah.
who tells you that
out
running
there.
a match is better for their shooting
No,
is
it's-
straight up
it's
lying.
off.
Yeah.
It is
Absolutely.
No,
it is
yeah, you're right.
It's so much more work.
Yeah, it is. I mean, just the fact that when you get there in the morning, you're not walking stages, you're putting up targets, you're putting up no shoots, you're checking to make sure that no one can shoot through barrels and hit steel on the other
Fixing
side.
all the little
You know,
things that were missed.
Making sure people have pacers. And
How
paint
about
or
this,
whatever.
guys? And here's a big thing that gets overlooked before we get out of here: the pads.
Oh, yeah.
The signing people up.
Oh, my gosh.
The
yeah.
people that walk up to a match and don't pay
Yeah.
or don't sign in, knowing some of you guys know better.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And don't
Oh, absolutely.
because you don't want to, you think you're going to get by, you're lazy, whatever. All that stuff adds up on top of the match director to deal with because remember what I said at the beginning of the podcast, the range is all that matters. And the range is there to make money.
Yep.
The range is there to make money.
Yep.
So before we go, one thing, what do you think it cost us? Because I think this is something that a lot of people, and actually, Sam, I think you know.
Yep.
What do you think it cost to start our club? But we did kind of go full bore because we had the
No,
money,
yeah,
right?
100%.
We didn't have to kind of scrimp.
I don't.
Right.
I mean,
Or skip.
we didn't go full bore because, like, you know,
Well,
right
we
now,
didn't
like
get any
small-
movers. We
yeah,
didn't get,
exactly. With
you
the
know.
small club, you know, we didn't have the budget for swingers, max traps, you know.
Yeah,
Stuff
but a
like
lot of
that.
clubs don't
It's,
have those.
it's coming, though,
Exactly.
right?
but
no,
I mean,
yeah,
we're
it's
still
coming, but-
not a big spoiler.
What was the
alert. We're still
initial-
talking $9,000 here to start up a USPSA.
Yeah.
Minimum.
Yeah, it was $9,000 is what it cost us. to
So
start
we
the
had,
club.
I think
'cause
our
lumber's
steel,
expensive.
our steel, we ended up getting a deal on. We paid, a little bit under $2,000 or whatever. So you're still talking, even without the steel, and you do just paper matches. And wait a minute,
Pacers.
I forgot about this. Matt did 99% of the labor on all of the stands. He
I
welded all of
spent
it.
a week at my job literally welding stands together.
I don't know if I'd call that welding.
Wow.
But
I mean, hey.
I will tell you,
boogers hold together.
it hasn't
I've
fallen
seen-
apart. So it's
I've
called
seen
welding.
way worse.
Yeah.
At the same
So
range.
we had another gentleman that was part of the club that also helped with the financial part. He did all of the finances for us. Thank you, Tom, for all
Shout
that.
out.
Tom
Yep.
built all the
Yep.
carts. We have these carts now that we pull all of the stages equipment in one cart.
Right.
That made a huge difference
Oh,
compared
yeah.
to just throwing a bunch of stuff on a bucket or a cart. Now they all stay in that cart. I mean, those little it helped come build walls on a day. Those are all things that added up that were free. So if you have to pay somebody for that stuff, and let's not mention that we happen to start this club at the worst wood prices
Oh, yeah.
of all time
yeah.
at $8 a damn board for some
a-
of this
for a
crap.
1x1.
Right. I mean, some of this shit was so expensive
Yeah.
that it doubled. So we probably would have been in it for 4 or 5
Maybe.
instead of 8 or 9.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Steel's twice, 3 times the price
Yeah.
it used to be. There's a lot of stuff that was way higher because of it. So,
But at the end of the day, though, we did it so we could put on a good match. Not for us, because like Tom just said, it really is no benefit. I mean, he doesn't suffer as much as us lowly C-class guys do, but it is a lot more work to be involved in running the match. than it is just showing up and shooting, helping RL, helping pace, whatever. But because we wanted to put on a really good match for the rest of the shooters in the area.
Right.
That's the driving force for it is really just putting on a good event that people want to come to. The word is spreading. There's a lot of good shooters in the area that are coming out and shooting with us. For me personally, that's the fun of it is getting the good shooters in the area to want to come to our match because it is a good match.
And I'll say Tampa, Florida, Central Florida is the mecca for USPSA because of the weather and because of the number of ranges.
Yeah,
there's not very many other places around the country that you could shoot
Arizona.
Monday night, Tuesday night, Wednesday night, Friday night, Saturday, Sunday. Like, there might be a Thursday match in there somewhere.
Yeah,
I mean, you could probably shoot
Down at
every
Punta
day of
Gorda,
the week here if you wanted to.
We have Hanson and Punta Gorda, the WAC, obviously. Keys Club, which runs out of the same range, actually.
Volusia.
We have Gorkin, Volusia.
Okie.
Yeah, like we have 6-7 clubs within a 2-hour drive.
All volunteers, by the way. Just to
All
let everybody know. All volunteers.
Yeah.
So, and I'll just touch on this real quick. One of the reasons why I don't struggle with it as much when it comes to running the match is because it's something that I've done since I started this sport, and I knew it was a mental, like I'm sharpening my mental, right? So, and I'll kind of give you a little bit of what I mean by that is when you run stages in USPSA, you're going to have things go wrong. And I don't mean as during shooting. I'm talking about just simple. When you get on a stage and the guys before you haven't shot yet, and you're going to sit there for an hour and a half, you have to mentally be prepared and stay up.
Yep.
You can't just go sit with your buddies and shoot the shit, which is fine. You're going to do that for a little while, but eventually you have to get back into killer mode, right? And start attacking targets and stages again. So it's one of those things where I use a lot of this for my mental training, not just the shooting. It's a lot of this stuff is mental, and I use it all as an opportunity to get better when I need it. So in other words, like we were talking about earlier with Matt, I got so invested, and me being a coach, I get so invested in my students. I really do. It's weird because I'm not supposed to care when it's my turn to shoot, and I can't just I can't turn off the coach, right? It's especially when it's friends, but shoot, anybody who's in my insider circle, I'm invested in them because they're invested in me. So like today, Sam was shooting and he wasn't gripping the gun. Well, he heard it. Like I was like, dude, like, what are you doing? And it's like, okay, so now I have to separate Sam's shooting from my shooting, right? And John's shooting and Kobe's shooting. And it's very difficult sometimes. So I'm learning now that I just have to turn them off. I cannot give two craps about them while we're shooting, and then I'm like, give me your video. Let's talk about let's talk about this right now, right? So it's just it's hard.
Show me the dumpster fire. Show it to me.
It's a whole lot of what the fuck is wrong.
What was going through your head at this point?
It's really more like do you even want to do this?
Yeah.
But to your point, Tom, is that's how I feel about it too. Is because if I can still go out and perform while having to do all of these other responsibilities of running a match, that will just help me when I go to matches where I don't have to do that. We're going to Georgia State, and we're not going to have to pace.
Yeah, we don't have to do anything.
It's 100% game changer.
Right, it's going to be the most
you.
casual. Yeah. It's like Steel Challenge,
and you're already on the
cooler.
ball buying headphones because you need to stay focused.
So I think
one of us, bull crapping. You're not. It's a game changer.
One of us mentioned it earlier. It's one of those things when you go to the range and you're just like, what do I do with my hands?
What do I do with my hands?
Because it's weird because you're like, if you're a worker, right? Like I'm constantly going to grab pasters, and the first couple matches that I did that because I shot Georgia last year, same exact thing, South Carolina this year, and it was just like, okay, this is horrible. Like I'm supposed to be doing something right now. I felt so bad for the ROs.
Yeah.
But I will tell you, as a shooter, and I think also as somebody who ROs a lot,
especially at level 2.
Yeah, it really speeds up the stage. There's no BS, somebody pacing early. We all know those guys that like to sit at the end on the one target and wait for the RO to get all the way around instead of resetting everything. It's one of those things where it's like, oh man, this is like, wow, like, okay. And then all you have to do is follow the shooter, follow the RO, and make sure your score is what it's supposed to be. But then you don't have to pace anything. You're focused 100% on crushing your stage
Yep.
plans.
Just the
It's
shooting.
just totally different. It's a different. Your energy level's higher, and I feel like the match is over sooner. Like I
Yeah.
mean, Georgia last year, we were like 5 stages in, and it was like 2 hours. We were like, what the
Yeah,
hell? I
it's
think we had
it's-
like 11 or 12-minute stage times.
Well,
like the
yeah,
whole
Because it's what, 10,
squad.
10 stages?
Yeah,
And-
well, at South Carolina
morning
State,
block?
we shot 10 stages, and we're done by noon.
Yeah.
That's ridiculous.
Yeah, we were flying through Georgia last year too. So and then South Carolina was the same way.
Yeah.
It's just faster. You know you're gonna have consistency.
Yeah.
Right. That's another thing. The ROs don't travel. They stay in that area. They know that stage. They know when someone didn't do
Yeah,
something they were supposed
exactly.
to do.
Right, yeah.
Like they're not
especially
chasing,
on like a memory stage.
Yeah,
right?
they're not chasing the guy up because he's doing something different. They're like, oh well, if he's got to go up there because I've seen the stage 50 times.
Right.
So and I've walked this, and that's the other thing as an RO. If you're pasting, you've walked that stage 50 times,
yeah.
so
Right.
you know what people are hitting and how they're hitting it from, and and all that kind of stuff. So, but. All right, I guess we're out of here, guys. We gotta let Matt get back home.
Deuces,
So
Pete.
he doesn't. Hey, go ahead and say goodbye to the people.
Hey-oh!
Sam, you got anything? John?
Nah.
All right, guys.
TCSA Insider Circle. There
Do
you go.
it.
Yeah. So
But-
all these guys
yeah.
are part of the Insider Circle. If you don't know what the TCSA Insider Circle is, it is a training program that I have online. I have hundreds of videos in there. Guess what, guys? We're getting ready to have the websites almost up. It's going to be a
Yeah.
forum instead of a Facebook group now. But we are going to start switching over to the website instead now. So we're going to start really having a lot more detailed pinpoint accuracy on finding those videos now. I do a mindset video every week, a shooting foundation video, and a break it down Friday video where I really go into those videos and talk about your basically how to break stages down, all those kind of things. What are you laughing at?
Proofread and all, baby.
So I'm trying to put together.
You can thank me
So
for that.
I'm trying to put this together while I work 2 full-time jobs, including getting everybody to trying to make videos to coach and then work a construction job. So I'm just typing all this stuff up, and then John's like, "Hey man, I hate Facebook. Can we make this faster?" I'm like, "Yeah, if you want to help me look at it." So he sends it to Matt, and Matt's like, "This guy's a moron." I'm typing as fast as I can just to have something on the computer, and he goes, "You didn't. I'll proofread this," and he's putting commas and quotations.
So-
I'm like, "Dude, I'm lucky if I even wrote it."
I may shoot like shit, but I know English like a motherfucker.
So at first, Matt
He's
screenshots.
more better.
He screenshots the homepage and he's trying to write on his phone like corrections, and then he calls me. He's like, "Dude, this would be way easier if I can just tell you."
This was a
Hey,
20-minute conversation on grammar, syntax, everything else.
So just so you know, the website I'm using doesn't have autocorrect. So
No,
I'm
it doesn't,
no.
Like when I put the letter T-O, I probably I'm supposed to go T-O-O, and I
Or
didn't use
T-W-O.
T-W-O. I just used the number 2 instead. It
I
spells
can be
correctly
the
every time.
GM of English. I'm good with it.
I don't know if you're a GM of English.
Yeah,
either.
at least you have
Well,
a goal.
maybe reading it, but not writing or not saying
At
it.
least you have a, oh, great. Now he's going to have to blur that out.
I just blur his whole figure
okay.
out. Like,
The whole
like I'm pretty sure the
Just
whole.
a blob
Dude,
over
I'm
there.
pretty
He's
sure
just
the
a
whole time
soundbite.
all you're gonna hear is this.
Soundbite.
That's what that is.
That's the
That's a
mute.
cussing beep.
Yeah.
Right there, so all you're gonna hear is beep, beep. All right, guys. If you got any questions, hit me up in the comments. This is on Facebook. It's gonna be on Podbean, Spotify, everywhere you can basically go except for Apple, because whatever reason those guys are impossible to get to go through. But if you got any questions, hit me up in those comments, and I'll see you on the range.
B_class.
See ya.